Agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture. Hey, this man Easy inviting you to tune in. It's all about everything agriculture with the man Banky and Company alongside Yason Tafari. It's your weekly educational show. And tune in. It's inspirational, educational, and you won't want to miss it. It's everything agriculture.
Global greetings, Wally. Global greetings, La Amiga. Global greetings, the entire Eastern Caribbean. It doesn't matter where you are around the world at this time. It's a pleasure to have you on this edition of Everything Agriculture. Very interesting edition, as we are about to get into a number of things this evening. Just going to be waiting for Ras Banky Shabbos King to log in, here with us, and we get into another interesting edition of Everything Agriculture. How are you doing this evening, my people? How are you doing Facebook? How are you doing YouTube? How are you doing Twitch? Be sure to log into our YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share the channel. That's where we're going to be more active in more recent times. As you know, especially our Facebook followers, that Facebook only allows the videos to be up for 30 days. And so we are going to be focused on YouTube to ensure that, the videos can be up for as long as possible. So we want to encourage our listeners to, go on over to our YouTube channel, log on, subscribe, and be a part of the Real Entertainment Network on the YouTube platform. And be sure to share with your friends and even your enemies. Let them know, that they should be logged on to Real Entertainment Network. And there's lots that's going to be happening in this space. So we want to say good evening to you once more. We are definitely going to be getting into some interesting discussions this evening. We had the first cannabis meeting last evening, and we are looking forward to updates on that event. There are some, for me, some concerns. I was wondering, like, why such a big event like that was not streamed, or I shouldn't say a big event, but I should say a significant or important event like that was not necessarily streamed, so that as many persons as possible could participate in the discussions, and at least, even if they were not able to participate in full, at least be able to hear and be engaged in the discussions. I did see a little post in relation to the event, but this is one of the things that I'm noticing a lot when it comes to information, and we are living in an information age, and I find that sometimes it is still so hard to get information, and even from those who should be disseminating the information. Because you would sometimes see a post from our elected officials and or those who are working for us. And let's say, for example, the a minister might have traveled and went away, and they may come back and they would just say, okay, we went to this place, and it was a wonderful event, and we met X, Y, and that's it. It's just like a little snippet. Nothing to really give any um, meat, so to speak, as we would say, um, on the discussion. So, for example, like that clip that I'm talking about, that I saw, there was nothing to say. Well, okay, we had a very interesting discussion. We discussed this, we discussed that. Members of the audience had some issues with this, or we nothing like that. No full report. Um, so you're still left, up as it's just like a, a news item. Somebody just put up a little news item to say, okay, yes, we had this, and this happened. It's documented. We as a people, I think, as I look at some of the things that's going on, and as I look at this issue, especially where cannabis is concerned, I think that this is a demonstration of the need for us as the electorate, as the true bosses, because these people who are elected work for us. We are their bosses. All that they're claiming that they're supposed to be doing is supposed to be done on our behalf. So if you are working for us and you're doing things for us, but yet you're not consulting properly with us, then we have to ensure that we remind you who are really the true bosses. And with this cannabis issue, if things continue the way that it is going, um, I am just kind of observing a bit of what's going on, and at the same time, still kind of disappointed a bit in my people, especially the people on Nevis, because I could understand and think things are happening, but it might not necessarily be, exactly the way they want it. But on Nevis, absolutely nothing is happening, and we are hearing absolutely nothing from the Ministry of Agriculture, which should be in charge of the medical cannabis side of things. And we, at this point, still on Nevis, don't know if we have anybody to represent us for the other aspects of cannabis, namely the recreational and spiritual or religious side of cannabis, because those aspects are placed under the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs, and the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs is only a ministry on St. Kitts. there is no Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs on Nevis. What I am trying to find out is if there is a partner association that is affiliated with the ecclesiastic ministry that should be representing Nevis on this front. That I'm not certain of yet. So there are things still that we really need to sort out, because even on that side, the ecclesiastic side, up to this point, we have never heard any utterances from that minister. So all that we would have been hearing so far in relation to the rolling out of cannabis would have been in relation to medical cannabis, which happens to be under the Ministry of Agriculture. Other aspects we have not heard much about yet. Anyway, before we delve into too much things, I'm going to give Banky an opportunity to introduce himself, and then we can get back into some of the other discussions. So good
Yes,
evening,
son. Good
Banky.
evening. Good evening, yes, son. Hope everything is all right. And I see you. Thanks for starting the show and everything. You had to do a little bit around, come leave in the farm and stuff like that. So, and still have to come in and make sure everything's safe in the garden and multitask and munch on something. And you know it is here with him. Yeah, but
And
it's another
we're a
Friday.
team. We're a team.
Yeah, man. It's another Friday, so I'm glad to be here. So good evening to the listening and viewing audience. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in on this another Friday evening, where we're going to be talking about cannabis, food security, which is the most important thing for us, and so forth. So let me just say good evening to the folks in Oli and Layamiga and the folks in the neighboring islands. If you're a first-time listener, you listen to an educational show. My name is Banky. I'm one of the hosts, along with Yasu and myself, and we have other hosts who come in from time to time. We can't call them guests no more, so we just have to bring them in like that. So greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. So good evening to the folks in St. Martin, Sabre, Statia, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the BVI, Montserrat, Antigua and Barbuda, folks over in Bermuda, and throughout the whole Eastern and Leeward Islands. Also the folks in the diaspora, North America, up to Canada, folks over in Europe, Asia, Africa, and wherever you're at. Greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. Good morning, good afternoon, whichever is appropriate. Thank you for choosing this medium, Real Entertainment Network. Always feel free to reach out if you want to sponsor anytime to Ira, myself, Yasun. Would greatly appreciate that. We don't have any sponsors, so if you love the work that we do here, every one, as we say, one cocoa full basket. So if it's $1 or $2, so if you have 500 people listening and you donate $1, you see where the ball go. That's simple as that, $500. So if it's $10, $5 is more, so we can do a lot more stuff like that. So appreciate that. Also, we will get a lot of rain, so a lot of people want to start to plant now, and always remember animals depends them gotta build off the ground with slats, which means the animals is not on the ground, it depend on the floor where they can pick up a lot of disease. Same thing with chicken and stuff like that. A lot of rain is good, but then when it comes to agriculture and depending on how they have your system designed, it can be very dangerous and costing to you, the owner. So I'm enjoying the rain, have some crops coming in, watermelon, a lot of bananas showing out, planting, fruit trees growing beautifully. Harvesting mangoes right now, so if looking at Amipali mango, you check Manso's last up case with 3 for 5. Definitely. So still have some carambola on the tree and melon coming in. So to get your mangoes, so we harvest mangoes for about a month now, Yason, and mangoes still on the tree. So mango picking and mango blossoming. So it's a beautiful thing. Have avocados also coming in. So good evening again, and looking forward for the discussion and the reasoning this evening, Yason.
Yeah, well, it's really nice to hear, that you guys are getting a lot of rains on that side, which means that, just now the place is going to be extra green. And as you mentioned, there's nothing
Don't
better
extra
than
green.
rainwater. There's nothing
Place
better
being
than
green.
rainwater.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And so I know then all of whatever it is, the bananas and the watermelons and all those things that you talk about are going to be pretty bountiful if
Yes,
especially
sir.
this rain continues like this. And we do need as much as possible, because, the more we have it means the less we would have to import. And that is one of the
You
major
see,
drive right now to
and one of the
reduce the
funny
food
thing
import.
that we speak about sustainability and resilience and all this different stuff, but at the same time, and climate smart agriculture. But all this we've been getting for the last 3 weeks, and especially this week, where you see all them guts running, nothing has been captured. You see, we not have a policy where we're looking at things towards agriculture when it comes to drilling wells and to take the agriculture sector off system off the main water line where you have more the spot where the water will go more to the housing and stuff like that and for drinking and cooking and household use. So it shows that we're not really into taking until we look at agriculture, how we look at tourism, you'll see the drastic change.
But the reality is, Banky, and this is one of the things I don't quite understand yet with our governments, is that agriculture and tourism should work hand in hand. They should be like husband and wife, mother and
Yes, but
daughter, father and
true.
son. So how is it that they are not able to see this? Because it is so simple. The reality is, if you are bringing in people and you're expecting to get foreign exchange from these people because you want them to spend their money when they come, but if you have to still take those foreign exchange to send outside to import food to feed them when they come here, then you're taking the money in one hand and passing it out in the other. That's basically all that you're doing. So
Yes.
if you are to focus on your agricultural sector, then you would be in a better position that when these people do come to your shows, you would have things to feed them, and not even just to feed them, you would also be able to have a lot more value-added products that you could have in the gift shop and so on that they could take back, whether it's from a cruise or if it's a stayover visit that they could, pick up at the gift shops or the stores or the stalls and so on around. We have to be thinking along these lines, and if we are not, then we are going to continue to have a lot of what we do see happening and hear happening, which is a lot of lip service. Usually when it's time for all it know, it's recognized as agriculture month. This is agriculture recognition month or awareness month.
No,
Um,
this is Agriculture Awareness Month. Yes, yeah.
right. And so you would hear a nice fancy speech to open up the month, and then you might see some activities taking place and so on. That's about it. But in terms of putting the money where the mouth is, in investing in the projects and things that would really make the necessary changes, and see what we are speaking about here, that true marriage between agriculture and tourism, that would really benefit our people. We are not seeing much of that. As
That's
we
on.
continue back, 1 second,
Yeah,
one of
go ahead.
the folks already commenting. So as you mentioned, mango, Aaron Atto
Yes.
Heiliger says that must make sure send a box of mangoes down for her. So on the boat. So I guess you guys
Box
will have
come
to
in
figure that
different
out.
size, Or when box come in different size, you want a box holding what, 500, 50, 20, 30? I want one, and you
So
want the whole tree.
we have Silvio Farming saying greetings.
Yes, I
Those are the
greetings,
only
likewise.
comments I see so far.
Yes.
Yes, no,
But
you
yes,
could go
so
ahead, Bank. I just
as you
wanted to
mentioned,
address some.
food security, I just want to mention the seriousness when it comes to the government, especially navies. Well, right now, Mr. Jeffers, I got to call him up because he's the one who wanted the Indian Castle project started. You understand? Because they've been harassing me. The former PS Huey Sergeant was harassing me for over a whole year about this project and showing how government system run. I just tell him I ain't serious. So after a year, I tell him yeah, and then I really look at them, the serious them. You see what I mean? Because you have to test people in a virgin car. So, and that's the way it is. But to see Mr. Jeffers up to this week and he keep going down there still, which means not even the minister that is present in now to go down there. So you see, he still have the interest cars, and to see that they're willfully messing it up and don't have the interest, nothing come out of down there. He need to speak up about it, but he can't. You see, and that is the sad thing. So it shows he keep going down there, have a radio show. So someone need to ask him how he feel about Indian Castle. And the premier himself and the whole cabinet knows the Minister of Agriculture right now have failed them. Jeffers knows that, but they just can't. It's just like infighting goes on within all of them. Because how can you have a $1 million project just going down the drain, bringing out from since I leave, not even one crop have been planted. Right now, they want the Woodies to take back over the estate. You see what I mean? When they don't move the youth man from places up and down the place, the youth man who have the experience, who work on them, move him, replace the whole staff. Now they want him to take over. How that gonna work when you don't have the whole staff to put there, disrespecting the man? That not gonna work. The manager go down there once a week or twice a week, show your face and leave. So you see the situation about managing these projects and getting out of 2030. Navies cannot achieve 2030 or even 2050 under this administration because they're not serious with Virgin. The agriculture, you see, a lot of people can pass a test in Yasan. Some people are very good at studying. I know a lot of people have a lot of degrees, a lot of masters, a lot of this, a lot of that, but they not function. They just on paper. And that's what agriculture have a lot of talkers. You see, we are failed. They are failing the farmers. The farmers who see me and come and say, boy, if since you're gone, we know this, we don't last with the extension officer once in a while, nobody help. But that's just the reality. We got to come better than this because farmers need the help. The general public need the assistance.
Well, Banky, you're looking at it narrowly because
yes,
it's not just failing the farmers, it's failing the country.
Well, of
because
course,
it's
definitely.
the country at the end of the day is faced with this nearly $200 million import bill. And it is as a result of what we are talking about here, the fact that there is seemingly no real level of seriousness where developing serious agricultural projects is concerned.
Yes, son, how can you put someone who is not doing any work? Which, I mean, you are the chief extension officer, you're in charge of all the extension officers, Yet, you're in charge of an orchard over 40 acres. And the minister member said in December, in the first quarter, they're going to develop the second phase, 60 acres, with the same chief extension officer, along with a whole group of different people, physical planning and this and that and something. Well, that make no sense. If you can't maintain something that does, you hand over something to your son, your son get it beautiful, done, got and everything, buttered, nice and everything, done big, and you mash it up within 1 month. Mash up everything, and now you want to bring it back. Things don't work like that. So you're wasting taxpayers' resources. People showing up, you're not working in the week, but you're going to put workers to work on the weekend. And then the premier going to come on the radio and speak about accountability and giving raises and all this stuff, and who have stuff on paper. Without paper, you can't get a raise. Well, how you have a man down there a match of 40 acres, but then you're going to get incentive because what? Is the minister friend? That's what you can't, nobody can say nothing. Otherwise, everybody get upset, get vexed about it if you speak about it. These are craziness, my Virgin. Accountability is key. So the minister will say he worked in agriculture for over 32 years. The chief extension been there for over 20 plus years, and yet both of them have failed. So both of them together have over 50 plus years in the Ministry of Agriculture. What do they have to show? Well, can we say, show me a trophy? Ain't a trophy to be shown. These things should not be happening this time, my Virgin. You can look around us. My Virgin from Barbados send me a picture with a breadfruit, $8 US, $8 US for breadfruit. You see what I'm talking about? So you see how things, so he said, but they're telling me about things going to keep going up. And they're already feeling it. You see? It already happening in Barbados. And it already happening here too. It's going to just keep going up because we import everything. Breadfruit is something, I remember, well, in the department, I was on a project where we were supposed to plant over 400 acres of breadfruit in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. The plant must be 30. You see, you don't even know the day. We're not serious, Jim. Breadfruit can do so much
Well,
stuff.
you know, Banky, and this is one of the reasons why I guess, I am saying what I am saying as well. Because, okay, even the aspect of cannabis that they are addressing, that they opt to deal with and address, they placed it under agriculture.
Yes.
But it is two, three. This is they decriminalized cannabis in 2019. This is 2025. We would have had the previous government, and this government has been in for nearly 3 years now, and they would have taken over. So yes, you could say you met this that way and all that, but you had 2 years plus, and we are still not close to. So what is this saying? Is it saying that you're really serious about developing this industry? Or is it that you are just structuring yourself to make sure that you can get this industry to be like another cash cow? Because seemingly, and I heard that earlier on today, it came out on the Groundings program earlier on today, as I listened to Groundings. And that was one of the things that was said, that the CBI, according to the IMF report, the return from the CBI in our economy is going to shrink. It reflected about 20% of the overall revenues for last year. But for this time around, it is claiming that it's only going to be 9%. Now, if a significant drop out of the economy from 20% to 9%, it means that's a
They're below
significant
half.
money that you'd have to go find to replace that. So they're hoping, based on what was said today on Grounding, that cannabis would have been that industry that would have sort of filled that void. So thus,
But yeah,
we get
son,
back
yeah,
to what
son, but yeah, son. But before cannabis, agriculture always dedicates agriculture stilism. That gap could have been filled with agriculture, whether it's avocados, whether it's bananas, whether it's coconut, whether it's peppers. We could be exporting vegetables throughout the region, caring up with and investing in our farmers, developing our resources. So this don't make no sense. You're gonna grow weed. You're gonna take up how much of land? Who gonna give you what you're gonna? So you see, if they have the interest for the farmers either way, whether it's weed or food, it may you'd have been niche. You can see the farmers are good at food right now, right?
But
So
Banky,
then I
you
you're
hear
not
me
put
say,
up $500 million for the farmers and them. So
well,
cannabis are coming
Banky,
out. You can't find land for food, but you find land for weed. So you don't have to eat. You don't even have a class where if you're gonna grow a half acre of weed, you must put in at least a 5,000 square feet of some food or tomatoes or whatever. You must have a class. But this man not think. These guys don't care. But it's obviously,
no,
and
Banky,
we know these things.
ain't that they ain't thinking. They're thinking, but it's
Yes.
how they are thinking. Because this is what I just said to you. Is you didn't hear me say anything about looking out for farmers and farmer benefit. Because I am of the view that one of the reasons why the agro industry is being stifled to some extent is because it will empower people, and part of seemingly the game that is being played by those who we elect is they don't necessarily really want to empower people. They prefer to give you a fish than to give you the fishing line and the hook and the bait, so you could go to catch not just a fish, but as much fish as you want, and maybe even more fish than them. But that is part of the problem. So that is why I'm saying, even though we talk agriculture and they put cannabis under the agriculture, the aspect of cannabis under that system, the way they are looking at it is not so much for the benefit of the people per se, but is how much revenues they can make from whether the
Okay. So
licenses and all
basically,
of these different
So
things.
so this gonna come down. We might end up with the next investigation. What going on selling of the passport with the CBI? With how much of our lawyers have been implicated with all this craziness going on? So where people gonna start commit suicide because of holding their head in shame because I never expected something like this would ever happen. You see, for all the years we're getting a freebie and laughing and smiling and knocking the glasses and laughing afterwards. No, all this information end up into the Congress. well, what the odds this
Well,
somebody
Banky,
gonna
you see,
bluff use? So at the same thing
you
with
see,
cannabis,
Banky,
then that's what I want.
our people, for all these years, have been sitting back. Now, I am one who, when the CBI came around first, I questioned it, and the way it was approached, the way it was dealt with then, I challenged it because it was more to me about selling out the land. And I know from my base, land is power. And so I had a problem
Yes.
with you telling me that you're trying to sell out the land to make money for me, because I know the reality
Mm-hmm.
is from a normal individual standpoint. If you're supposed to run books, the last thing you would look to sell is your land. You would sell your car, you might sell clothes, you might sell furniture and all kind of things. The last thing you would look to sell is your land. Now, if you are a government and you are supposed to be sustaining the country, and the first alternative you have is to sell the land to say you're making money to help keep, well, then something is wrong with that equation. And so I had
Yeah,
a
but remember,
problem
your son,
with that.
when selling these resources and the passport and all these things, remember, the people are not benefiting enough because the amount of money and billions have been spent. It's obviously each citizens can get over 15 to 20,000 US a year from all this money that have been made. So which means the other people. So they need to back pay the people that owe them because them again
So,
share. The people should demand these things. Demand the money what is
so
owed to
that,
us. Then have
so
when
that is
people
why I'm
free to ask.
saying, that is why I'm saying our people seem to be very, especially
If
in
something
Nevis,
belongs to you, is
very,
yours,
very,
which
very
means
docile, and
yes,
the
son, our
elected
people should
officials
not be
take
paying for
advantage of it.
housing. Our people should not be paying for water. We've been canned. Can we not pay for water? Everybody should have access to potable water, clean potable water. They should not be paying. If you're making over 2,000 under $2,500 a month, you should not pay for no housing because all the money they're making in roads and these different stuff and wasting and doing over and all kind of something and trucks sitting up collecting money are the same thing. You can't take my money, borrow it, and charge me. And when you do the same road, you tax me a little bit, $5 here and whatever. So give people free housing, the same Virgin, free education, free healthcare, free everything. And the money be how you charge the people money to use their own resource. When you and your small alliances thieving the same money by the millions and the millions. They can't say nothing because the evidence is there. We've been saying these things, we've been can. And this whole thing can't continue by none of these parties. Because whatever we realize, analyzing all these parties, it doesn't matter who they put to run in their parties. They are being controlled by the people the founders and the old, you understand? The OGs of the party from long time. You're told how to speak, how to this, how to that, and whatever. You're being controlled. It's obvious how you see the Prime Minister is being controlled. Because when I hear the Prime Minister say, someone came into his office and people come into his office and extort him some kind of wanted millions. That's a here joke, man. He's soft. You know, he more than I was a Rasta woman. Because if you extort me, the first thing me lock you up one time, you know. You can't come in my house, go demand nothing in my house. Well, how brave you can be. Right, you not leave the building, you can leave the building in the police wagon and go down at 1840. So how stupid can the Prime Minister say? Stuff like that. Them things don't make no sense. Illegal Alzheimer's. And then you're going to say people are unnecessarily passport because the passport supposed to be for X amount of money. But you want to pass a law to say you're undersell when you don't make it illegal to undersell the passport. well, these things that they said, we're right here in the AGB. You see what I'm talking about? These
Well,
is just,
you know,
these don't make no sense.
these things, right? At the end of the day, we just have to give it time, and a lot of these things that
Of
we are
course.
not certain about, it will come out
Yes.
because we are seeing bit by
Definitely.
bit a lot of the shady things and all the
Yes.
things that were happening behind the scenes will eventually come out.
Yes.
What I am saying,
Definitely.
is from the the concept of a government looking out for its people. The government should be in a position where they should be able to diversify the economy. So you should not necessarily be having all of your eggs in one basket. What happened to us with the CBI was that CBI eventually, because the government seemingly was unable to, in some cases, attract foreign investment and also refuse to empower their farmers and their own people to get into businesses and also take farming to another level, to run with CBI. We, as you mentioned, and these are the kind of areas that you find that they look to develop, because things can happen behind the scenes where you don't know anything about, or the average people don't know anything about, especially when it comes to campaign funding. And this is an area that a lot of people don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to. I don't know if those laws have been changed on St. Kitts and Nevis, but there is no law that dictates that these political parties and our candidates and so on have to say who they get money from and how much money they get and so on. So when some of these people come in and you hear that they're making deals with some of these people and so on, we don't know if some of these people are giving a little $1 million for their campaign, or $2 million, and then they have to find ways to give them back, and so they give them a job or they give them some kind of project, or let them invest in some kind of project and then pay them back something and so on, and even years after they're still paying them and so on. These are things that in a lot of cases, because there is no law to say that they must say these things or they must put out these things, these are some of the loopholes that they're able to smooth around. And so if they're supposed to invest in the local farmers and empower our farmers are not going to put no million they can. So for them, not necessarily beneficial for them. And then also too, when it's election time, they can't come on and give a farmer no $500, wrap up in a shot and buy him a drink or buy him few little things and then get a chance to get a job for 5 years again. Somebody that some don't really necessarily pay attention, but these are things that's been happening, behind the scenes. And so that is why sometimes when what we would expect and we would think, well, okay, this is how these people should be functioning, but their mindset and their goal and their plan is sometimes different. So you would want to think that an elected government would want to look after its people. But in reality, the elected government is looking to get back a job for the next 5 years. So the objective is to see how they can win, strategize, and so they could win. That is the objective. And until sometimes us, the masses, to that point and realize that and really start to hold them accountable. Make sure that they understand that they work for you and not the other way around. They need to respect you, not you respect them. To that.
If you want to be a part of the show, remember the telephone number is 1-869-662-7196, and we'll accept your call. Also, Yason, right now, it ain't gonna get any better, It just not get any better, and we can see what's going on around the world in real time in front of us. You see, so up to now, you ain't hear the Minister of Agriculture Nevis speak on cannabis. This week, he was asked a call in and asked him about the cannabis industry and stuff like that, and all what he basically said, well, and you could see he was uncomfortable. You see what I mean? Answering the question. Well, the federal government taking the lead, and we will just follow, just blank like that. Well, if you're following, well, how you not do the same thing? I understand. You should be doing the same thing in Nevis if you're following. You see, not just follow when they don't do what they do, just get up and do it. And then, because of all this, I was supposed to call and the ecclesiastic office, and I speak to some beautiful ladies working in and who gave me plenty of help in that areas and stuff like that. The PS herself is on vacation right now, shouldn't be in until the next end of the month, so I guess early next month. But either way, those who was there was very accommodating when they come to give me the information. But it's sad to say, ain't no information to give because the minister just called them to try to have a meeting with them to start see what the way forward be. So I couldn't wrap my head around that because I didn't understand the
laugh,
one
it's
day.
not even funny.
You see?
It's not even
No, I couldn't
funny.
understand the one
How
day.
is it?
'Cause
How
this
is it?
thing-
How is it that? How is it that
no
something
meeting
could
have been
you
held,
could be
you know.
in charge of a ministry
Nothing has been said
and
about cannabis
this
in that
ministry?
ministry. Nothing.
So all these
It
things
is
going
crazy.
on with medical cannabis, and the minister was there at the opening of the medical cannabis authority. You know.
It no matter. It just a take up space. It just a full up. You know, when you read a book, it got fillers. You have to pick the book and pick sense out and nonsense and know how the book is. A lot of things is just fillers to tell the storyline to make it look big. So when you're reading stuff, you have to know how to go skip a page and that's what because a lot of things is just fillers, don't make no sense. And that's all it is. Most of them is just
It's
standing up. You see?
it's
'Cause he should have talked at the cannabis opening, you
sometimes
know, and say, well, these are the situation. My office, the ecclesiastic, will have the forms and all the lights. Everything is ready, and the thing is there to print. So, which mean how they're gonna print the ID? They don't have a design for the ID. I wonder if that is in place already. You understand what I mean? I mean these things are not in place. You not even have an application on paper. Yeah, it's nothing at the office. At the
so
ecclesiastic. Cause them
so
gonna collecting money, you know.
so,
So you're gonna need a cashier.
so
You see? You see all these things? So how we think ahead of them and them not think? You know, in a sense,
you think
brethren.
they're not thinking? Is it that
Well, we have to say it.
it's
We have to say it.
it's a game that
Can they
it's a
care?
game that's being played
It's
because
disrespectful. That's what it is. It's very disrespectful. That's why I know. You see, it's very disrespectful to say you'll come to the fort when you know they were talking about cannabis and you know an area where it's developing into two different areas. The medical, the authority dealing with the medical part. They make sure separate it. When they dealing with the big box and with the small $1 or the free whatever it is they want to put it over, and then they put it in an environment that most people in those environment, the church, they don't like herb. So when you see hundreds of people are coming there one idea, well, how they don't feel about that? If they don't take their
it's
personal
not
feelings
about
out of
Banky.
these things,
It's not about how they feel, Banky. Here's the
what do you
issue,
mean?
and
Is
this
how
is
they feel
what
have to do it too?
no how they
Feeling have a lot
feel.
to do with
So
other
how they
things.
feel? No, it's a
Most
lack.
people can separate
It's
too.
still it's
Well,
it's
have to do
still lack.
anything.
And the government
Oh,
say that this is
really?
what is happening. They put it under that ministry. So this is where the people comes in, Banky. And that is
Yes.
why sometimes these things are allowed. Because if the people don't agitate, if the people don't speak out, if the people don't act, then these things continue. And we have to get these people to understand that they work on behalf of us and should not be paid. And even some of these ministers get 33% increase the other day. And this is a part of your work. So whatever other responsibilities you had as Minister of Ecclesiastic Affairs, cannabis has been added to your portfolio, and you're responsible to the people of the Federation, and you have not spoken to the people of the Federation on that issue. Up to this, they have never heard Mr. Jeffrey Hanley speak on cannabis. So a lot of people, I'm sure, would not realize or
Yeah,
may
sorry, the
not
man
realize.
busy. Man is very busy. Have a very busy portfolio with a lot of stuff like that. So you have to give him a chance.
But Banky, hold on. So then,
What?
if that is the case, if that is the case, then
Yes.
what we are perceiving and what we are alluding to then might just be the reality, because
Yeah, he's busy. Very busy. He's a
medical
busy
cannabis.
man.
No, hold on. The medical cannabis side of things, as we are alluding to, is more geared towards the foreign investor. The recreational or personal use and spiritual and recreational use is more geared towards the natives and the national. And if those areas are just chucked in a corner and are not addressed, then that means you're literally telling us that you really don't care about us in this industry. And if nobody from that sector has spoken to us and they're only pushing the medical cannabis side of it, then it is clearly showing us, it's not telling us in words, but it is showing us by direction that this is what the government is all about. Out of these 3 areas that the commission, the CARICOM commission looked at, because when the CARICOM commission looked at cannabis, they didn't just look at cannabis under medical cannabis, They said that this is what CARICOM said. CARICOM's recommendations were that cannabis should be regulated and treated like alcohol and tobacco. How we treating alcohol and tobacco? We have all these kind of regulations and all these kind of things going on with tobacco and alcohol in St. Kitts and Nevis? No. But the government has opted to roll out and focus on only the medical cannabis side. So then if
what did the first thing you hear, Yason, about the medical cannabis, that the tourism department going to use the Eco Park? That's the first thing the government, they want to start up and talking business for themselves. You see, they started to talk about what they're going to do by the Eco Park to accommodate the tourists and have the lounge and all this different stuff. You see? So we might have to get Miss lady name, Miss Marsha to come speak on this because yes.
Well, we don't know because Banky, we as the people is the people.
Music festival next month, Music festival coming up, Music festival coming up, tourism again. So cannabis gonna be a part of that again. All right. Remember that.
We the people have grown accustomed to, not that we have grown accustomed to. The politicians have grown accustomed to us not holding them accountable, not demanding that they come and consult with us before they go and do any. Because, for example, this is a thing that I see, a trend that I'm seeing. And I find it very interesting when we claim that we are a democratic society and we don't consult with the public, but then we go into the house and pass a bill that is going to affect the public. And then only after going in the house and passing the bill, and maybe you start to get some pushback, then you say, okay, we have to amend this. But that's the wrong way. That's the this is what is happening here with the cannabis as well, because they would have rolled out the whatever it is that they say that they're gonna do from the medical cannabis side, and now after rolling out these things is when they want to have these series of meetings. To me, in my view, a lot of these meetings should have been done prior to rolling out these things, so that in the event now, people would have already discussed these things, because you would have said, okay, this is what we are proposing. This is what, we're thinking of doing. What are your thoughts on this? And then you would have been able to get that sort of feedback from the population and the people before you even put what you put there, and then now want to have the people backtrack.
No, they met it so. They met it like that, yes, and so the people, they met it like so.
That is not an excuse.
What do you mean?
That is not an excuse. That's why the people elect you. They elect you for change. They elect you to leave things the way they meet it. That's not. If a government is in, if I give you a job, Banky, to build a house, and you're farming full and you're doing it the right way, and I get the rid of you, and I hire somebody else to finish your house, we may expect them to do the same thing what you've been to do, and continue how you've been to do it? No. That's what me hire you for. Me hire you because me want you correct the problems that Banky had there before. So if that is not being done, well, then we have a problem. And these are some of the problems that we have where cannabis is concerned.
We expect a call from Ross Ira this evening, so just want the listening audience to know that Ross Ira should call in anytime during the show, where we're going to have some discussion of what's really going on within the cannabis. And as the chair of the Caribbean Rasta organization, and along with cannabis and what's going on and stuff like that. But Yason, what's happening here is the Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Ecclesiastic basically the same. They not talk. You know, realize that? No, the Navy is same thing. They not talk. You see, so well, why they not talk? Can you hear? He was asked Wednesday on the show, and he just shut it down. Like, you know what I mean? The federal government is taking the lead. So the question is, why, if the federal taking the lead, just like they have the 2025 that was before, the federal government doing anything and Navy wasn't doing nothing. So it means Navies have its own autonomy over agriculture. It's obviously because if these are federal projects and they should be moving together, and we are not, because it's the second one that we're not moving together. It's obviously Navies fidgety because somebody don't want it to happen. And if it's one of those somebody, it's obviously we can see, because we're talking about it all the time. Can I remember last year? Yes, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. The question the question is why is the people of Nevis sitting back and allowing these things to happen? You talk
because
about
the higher sensitive in the community, because we have a community that don't like herb and they're very conservative, but they like alcohol. They like alcohol.
Hold on, Banky.
Yes.
You're talking about the herb. Me ain't talking about the herb yet. We started with 25 by 25 agenda. The 25 by 25 agenda. You said that just like the 25 by 25 agenda, it is a federal project, and Nevis wasn't doing much with that. So why is it that the farmers
the word is not much. Not much. Okay. Nothing.
Okay, and you're a farmer. So why is it then
just like give some seedlings? We give some seedlings mean. You even give seedlings. Touch your seedling and
so why the farmers,
and then the farmers not come.
And why the farmers sitting back and not protesting or uproaring or nothing? Why?
Because the farmers know when the agriculture department come and the directors then come, they'll just go along with the directors. The department knows that they'll just go along with it. Yeah, they'll just go along with it. You see, remember, if you have a fowl and you feed the fowl, chick, 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 you throw the rice and whatever, and you pluck out the fowl for them and chop fire upon them and a burn them, and the fowl are going to go and call back again and say, chick, 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 the fowl still coming. Can you keep feeding him? And that's how it is. They're baiting the farmers, them no respect. You see? No respect. We're talking about sustainable goal and agriculture's goal and trying to lower the emission and all these things, but yet we're not moving towards this thing. We cannot move towards this thing. You must put the capital there. Everything requires money in a virgin. It requires funding. Okay? So you must increase your budget. If you're not seeing the budget, why you keep seeing this big budget for tourism? Why you keep seeing this big budget for infrastructure and all these things? Because, you see what I mean? But how come not agriculture? How come not agriculture? When it's for your own survival. This thing just don't make no sense. And yet, we embracing these people who are failing us. Remember, this is April gone, and the previous said that is when people start to get increment. Okay? So people continue to get the increment and failing. Right now, let me address something there. You see, I left the department and everything failing. There is more people in my nation in the department, There's a young man at the department who performing excellent, Brandon Frederick. I got to big up Brandon. And he produced most of the food of agriculture openly because since I'm gone, he don't come under me. When he come to produce, he go all the onion and all the things there over pot works. The man, so they ain't gonna give him the position. Because right now done hearing them try to work out something. Work out what? They're gonna wait till them ready to leave. Look when me leave, the minister call him in the office and say, well, suppose we consider because you have an associate, but they wanna do the work, pay the man. You see? And they wanna do the work. Same thing again, I leave, they're gonna leave. Petty man, Virgin, what bachelors and masters and them who got these things failing. There people in the department got masters and not more agriculture. Hands on, they want to pass a test. You see? Brandon, you understand? So I have to call out these things. I have to call them out, Brandon. This is wrong.
Hold on. These things ain't techno rocket scientist Banky. If you have somebody there that's functioning and they're performing,
Yes, and I was
and
there. What you mean, rocket
wait,
scientist? I was there. Made the example. What you say? The rocket
hold
scientist.
on. No, but hear what I'm saying. If you feel like the person don't have the qualification, and you
The
want them
qualification
to
is
have
there.
the
The man do the work. What qualification you want them to do the work?
but
The
hold
man
on,
do the work. You
hold on,
produce. It's
hold on.
tangible.
Yeah, but if you want the paper, why not empower the person and help them to get the paper while they're on the job then? Because they're already doing it. So that's what this is the other part that I'm saying. Instead of then
Yes.
having them leave, get frustrated and leave, and or you bring in somebody else who you may feel
What
have
the minister have?
qualification.
Will the minister
Wait,
have?
hold
Will
on.
the minister have a communication associate? You know, the young man have an associate in agriculture technology. The minister have not in when it comes to crops planting, having in communication. So which means the young man is more qualified than the minister to lead it. So how the minister lead the man? The minister is something, eh? I was there under Jeffers, and then I want to pay me, because they also was a cabinet decision. I was there under Eric, then I want to pay me. It's when I leave, mine I don't ball, you know. Me do the work, I make the most experience, me need to teach the train young extension, and me do everything, me get the most experience, but yet, then I pay me. Well, when me leave, you go to do the minister come in office. Well, suppose we consider and give it a position. You can keep it. You see? You can keep it. It's not that serious. Pay me now for my experience. Keep the paperwork and pay me for my experience. You see? It's happening, everything shutting down. So he put his best friend down there with his bachelor's, you understand, the same chief extension officer, but can't do the work. This is the problem we have. People who cannot do the work. Pay Brandon what is deserved. Give the man his position. Becoming and stop talk about this, you know. Me the sacrificial lamb, you know. But you don't have too much sacrificial lamb in agriculture. You don't have Sherman leave. You don't say Randa Vifus leave. And how can people don't leave? You see? Because of the same not about the getting. Those who doing the work now are going to pay. Because they think they can use people and string on. But this time have changed. I don't tell the minister all these things in front of his face that all these things going to happen, you know, and everything I told him happening, you know. And he must say, boy, this man you can see the future. I just want me telling me happening, that's just reality. Because I know these things will happen, Virgin. Because you cannot have people who are doing the work. And because, Virgin, them people who drive in the tractor, they should be civil servants, the mechanics should be civil servants. So because you don't have a paper mechanic, they not, you don't get them as non-established. This thing is nonsense, my Virgin. These things is nonsense. This thing is crazy. These things should not be. Because they are trained. Those who went and get the paper, they train the same way, you know? But then they can't do the work. They're not hands-on. You see, NASA will not hire
No,
you
but what I'm saying,
unless you can use your hands.
What I'm saying is, if you're really serious about empowering your people and uplifting the standards of your civil service and of the workforce and all that, if you have people who are functioning and
Bad
you say
mind,
you
yes,
want to,
just bad mind.
you want to upskill
Bad mind.
the system,
They're full of bad
then
mind.
why not offer these people an opportunity for training, even if it's not a bachelor's or whatever? Send them, like for example, you talk about a mechanic, send them to some place where they can get some training and then get a certificate or something that you can use then for them.
Yes, so me not make an excuse. You me not make no excuse for nobody,
I'm not
Virgin.
making an excuse. I'm just looking at being realistic.
The man
If
do the work.
somebody's in a
The man do
position,
the work. The man doing the work. Okay? 40 acres down in Indian cars that me don't do. You see? The man a produce hundreds of bags of onion, patworks, thousands of pounds of pumpkin and watermelon. Well, where's the one the man to prove? Pay the man, Virgin. Can when the man leave, nobody else could do the work. That's the reality. The young lady leave agro processing, gone down, standard gone down. You see? Because she have all the skills that she had, the training in she had. You understand? Who come after can't fill the position? Same thing. Very first leave in the propagation. You ain't gonna find nobody who can do grafting and ear laying because Beno from in the countryside taught her he was one of the best graftman and propagation technician agriculture had at the time. And he trained that young lady. She taught me to do ear layering and all this different stuff and propagation and grafting and all this stuff. No, she have left. When she left, they had to catch back in December and she done left, He helped them out for agriculture open. They should do all them for agriculture open again, You would not believe it when the young lady had left them and they got beg she back, he come back. Can she tell me so? You cannot make up these things, your brethren. You cannot make up these things. So these things happen under two ministers, under Jeffers, and it continue when Jeffers lose and continue under Eric. You see? These are how. So it's two ministers that have no intention. These are so it have nothing to do with. It's just a policy that this government have to keep down people who have the skill set, but because they don't have the paper, they're just being bad-minded with it. So you have no. So it's just a policy that they have. That's the point I'm trying to show you.
Sad scenario, and it's a sad reality that we have to deal with. And agriculture is one of those fields where, yes, training is important. It's nice to have, your qualifications, but there's nothing like real hands-on experience in the field of agriculture, because as much paperwork as you may have,
yes,
to come out in the field and deal with certain situations. The man who has never had any training, and we see it in many different fields. For example, in agriculture, the fishermen, a lot of these went to no special training, and they can you with your paper and you dig all of that, and the man will carry you out there, and the man will do things and show you things, and they will be successful, and you yourself with all your degree and all your whatever still in.
We don't need to go through all that, because everybody sleep in a house and live in a house, and the man who build a house and electrician and the plumber no way. So we don't have to talk about them things there. We are no better. You see? Because we are in a house and the man who come in and do the plumbing and load the house and do everything no went and join the plan no went no way. The church them go to every Sunday and all these different things they see. They're no better. So that's why I don't entertain these foolish talks. You see, it's just a system designed to con people, because they feel like they went and spend X amount of money in some school, which is fine. Nothing is wrong with that. But then still pay those with the experience, because you know have to come out and them have to teach you. Because I have to teach them who come out of school, with the paper, because they know nothing, You see what I mean? They don't know nothing. Not one thing. Can never plant a tree yet. Nothing. So how farmers going to take them serious? And I was telling them, get 2 pots, plant a tomato tree and a bell pepper tree. One is fast growing, one is slow growing. And you're going to take the same amount of time for you to take care of 2 plants, then you got 100 plants. Can you got to monitor it every day? All day. You see? So if you can't monitor 2 plants, well, how a farmer going to take you serious? Can you see all the pests and disease that will affect those 2 plants? Just would affect 1,200 plants. And they can't come into 2 plants. Farmers not going to take you serious. That's just the reality. You see, that's just the reality. Because you can't identify the pest and them in a sense. You can see, but if you're in hands-on, most diseases look the same. It's just you have a flu. And it's the same thing. The symptoms are the same. You're tired, you're this, that. The deficiencies look the same. That's just the reality. So if you're in hands-on and know to look for, you can't diagnose this problem. You see what I mean? I'm here, farmers call me every day. People call me all the time because I'm hours and the work. It doesn't matter where I'm at, whether the department or not. It's just how people trust and who they want to communicate with, and who will answer them back, who will call them back, who will communication. All these things goes along with it, and all that are part of an extension. But your son, we have to, if our government both sink it to the federal and sink it in the navies, we're going to have to start looking for people first when it comes to agriculture and cannabis. Ain't no reason to bring no investors here to go to cannabis. Then they take off the part they offer it. Period. Take off all them fees. The only thing exists is natives. Those who born, the son of the soil. Because we can go the herb better. No care where the herb go. You know that. If we can train our people and the standard that they need, and that's it. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? We're going to just give away everything like a sugar cane, so? That's where you're going to be. We're going to just give away everything. because of few people who have great ideas to make lots of money, them and their friends and whoever it is. 'Cause remember, they can't go the herb, you know. Them who manage herb can't go the herb. That's rule number one. You know nothing about agriculture. But I don't know about is the love of money. You see? And when people thinking about money, they're not thinking about safety. Because don't worry about all these this and testing, you know. The same testing goes on in America and other countries. Is pesticides residue always be the biggest problem still? Because these places are left to test them own self most of the time, in a lot of these cases and stuff like that. You see what I mean? It's just that if they leave you to manage and do the right thing, but that doesn't mean they're gonna happen. So these are the problem we have. It's the same thing when it comes to the pesticide boards also. As the young lady said, Miss Knight had said, well, they have some stuff in place already, but a lot of work needs to be done. A lot of work. There was a meeting Thursday and about cannabis again, and their one should be coming up again sometime, and a third one should be coming up after, and that should be Nevis, what that was mentioned. So I don't know how the one in Nevis is going to turn out, if anybody from Nevis, from the Department of Agriculture, or the ministry. Well, I wouldn't even think they're going to happen, because they ain't even been saying anything all for a while. Why would they start to be a part of these things? So these are the situations where we are now. We just can't hear nothing from the Nevis end. Nothing at all, at all, at all.
And why are Nivision sitting back and allowing that?
They
They're
like
being
it so.
paid. That's a part of their job.
They like it.
They kind
They like it
has
so.
no about their job. So they should be speaking about it. And we need to figure out from the Nevis end, if in terms of the 56 grams license and the 5 trees license and so on, if they're going to have to go to
That's Jeffrey
Sinkis to get
Hanley.
that.
Yes,
that's what I'm
because
saying, if they have to
okay,
go to
there is no office. There is
So
no office
there's
in
no-
Nevis. There is no branch. Okay, let me say this. Because when I speak to the office of the ecclesiastic, there ain't nobody in Nevis, and there's no office in Nevis. So they don't know how they're gonna work out. There's not ever been a discussion. Can ask all these questions. There's nobody in Nevis represent.
So
Everything is
how
based in
is-
Sinkit.
So how is Nevis and the Nevis cannabis people, them users and empaths
Go
and
Sinkit. Go Sinkit. And
No. How
go
are you
Sinkit.
sitting by and allowing your ministers and your government just not doing anything and not saying anything, but at the same time they're sending the
So you're asking them
police officers
if I would have to
pull
come
up
to
your
Sinkit to get
trees
a
and lock you up?
license. They say, well, I can't speak on that because there have not been a meeting. The minister just called and said he will need to have a meeting. And I said, no, man, this have to be a joke. This can't be true, man. They said, that cannot be true. He said, well, that's... He said, well, sir, you see what I'm talking about? So I said, what happened to people in Nevis? How this is going to work? You're going to put the office over in Nevis and somebody will be responsible. So how this... They don't know. Nobody could answer this question. Or the minister got this thing in the head. Only he one know, you know.
Nobody
know.
in Navy saying anything. So as far as the minister is concerned, there's no need to really push it because you see, he's only the one who
really?
last of them and who wants more. Well, that's how they think. That's the
Okay.
thinking. If you all don't
But
speak
it's
up, and this
already-
is what the population have to understand. You know, the government acts upon the quest of the people. So if they don't see people agitating for this, then for them it means that okay, the people are cool with whatever is happening. So if they're doing what they're doing and you're not doing anything, because remember they're working for you, you know, and that is why they presume these things. And until
It's
you all
not
get
a
to a
matter of
point,
people means okay now,
they
yes,
stop
son.
allowing them presume.
The masses,
How
you know,
many
the
is it matter
masses
that?
who use the herb are still hiding, and a lot of them are still not going to use herb because the stereotype is still there. You see what I mean? And you know that even when you go to the meeting, how much people show up to the meeting because they don't want people like only those.
Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. You zooming in specific to cannabis. Me zooming in specific to cannabis alone. You know? I'm talking about the people.
Yes.
Watch here. We have a notion here in St. Kitts and Nevis where the politicians tomorrow who get up and tell you they have House of Assembly and they're going in there and they're going to pass a bill or whatever. Whatever bill they're going to pass and put in law. They never
But they
had
don't
any
discuss it with us.
consultation with you. But they're doing
Of
it for
course
you. They
not.
say they're doing it for you. and they're doing it on behalf of you. So this is what I am saying. You all have gotten to a position where you all allow them to feel like this is the norm because there's even no pushback where that is concerned. They go in the house and
It
they
is
just
the
pass
norm
it.
because they say, well, you let me to make the right decision for you, so you don't have to think. We will think for you and put laws that is good for you, and you don't have to worry about it. We're gonna do it in your best interest. Yeah, you don't got to
But
think.
that is not
You
how it's
understand? We'll
supposed to
just do what is
operate
right.
because you're supposed to come to me and
We know
consult with me.
that.
If you're going to do something for me, if you're doing something on behalf of me, well, it is only fair.
Yes.
I understand the part where, okay, I elect you and I expect you to do it, but I expect you to also come to me and consult with me before you go and do it. Even if you make the decision at the end
No.
of the
No.
day,
No. No. No.
I
No.
would
No. I
feel
don't. I
good
know. I'm
to
not
know.
gonna do that.
I would feel good to know that at least I had a part of the discussion and I did tell you, okay, don't do this. Even if you went and do it. Well, when you go and do it now and you go into whatever, I could say, well, I did tell you so. But if we didn't have a say
Of
in it,
course.
then you just so this is why I think it was on the last show or some show we were talking about, and I was saying, I think I was making the point, but I didn't get to finish it.
Hmm.
We claim to have a democracy, but the reality is the government functions more like a dictator or like a dictatorship, because here is it as I'm
Like
saying,
the
you really
witness.
should be consulting with the people, but then you just go in the house and pass it, and then only if you get a pushback. Like for example, when they went in the house and they passed the no smoking in public places bill, and they singled
Yes.
out
Yes. Yes.
cannabis. So they did it, right? But then they got
Mm-hmm.
pushed back from the masses. And it was only after they got the pushback from the masses that they went back
Yeah.
and amended it to say that. So this is what I'm saying. Be that way. It shouldn't be that you go and pass the law and then got to go back to amend it. It should be that you come to the people, consult with the people, and then based on the information and the feedback from the consultation, then you make a decision. But because we have allowed them to continue to function as if they are the bosses and they dictate to us what they're going to do without consulting with us, it is being deemed as the norm. So somebody listening to me now will be thinking, what are you talking about? Homie, they must come to us to tell us what they're doing. They're supposed to just go in the house and pass it. No, that's not a
Mm-hmm.
democracy. That is China, them and so, where they have socialist government and Cuba and so on. In a democracy, the people should have that consultation. And when they go away to do things on behalf of us, they should come back and report to us, not just put up a little story and say, oh, we went and we had a nice meeting and we met with X, Y, and that's it, and then that's it. No, like I saw a post earlier on today in regards to the meeting that they had last night. Oh, we had a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and but in terms of anything that was discussed, the feedback from the meeting itself, and that nothing like that was
I ain't get
highlighted.
no feedback, nothing. Yes, nothing. I ain't get no information
So,
about that.
so,
And
so that's what I'm saying.
not
Most
even
of
in
the
the
time when
news.
these
Not even in
government,
the news.
and they didn't even stream it, like a big thing like this, and
Yes.
you know a lot of people, you know what I mean, should be interested in this. Why just have a little meeting in a conference room and in a modern technological times like today, where everybody is on social media and so if you couldn't reach a radio platform, and why not even use you got ZIZ, you have all these other, you know what I mean, mediums that you could use, SKNIS and all that, to sensitize the public, because these things, they're not supposed to be in a hush hush. This ain't supposed to be nothing in a little room. This is supposed to be something that's public. You want to be able to reach as many people as possible, so that when you make your decisions, it's not based on just a few people who whether reacted or acted a particular way. So I mean, I don't know.
And,
I
and
really wonder sometimes about our people and how we sit back and
yeah,
take these things for granted.
but something like this will happen in this meeting. Even though yet the two ministries is separated, the medical part and the ecclesiastic part. It should have somebody there from the ecclesiastic part and the part of the discussion to reference. Well, this can we have two discussion in one. This section for these
Should
things to have. Yes, these things so these
should
things are
is the
not
operative
in
word.
organization.
But if up until this point, So here's what you're saying, they should. But so far, in the two
When
and a
you go
half years
speak,
that the
when you go say
government is
ask you,
in, we only hearing about medical
yes,
cannabis. We ain't hear
yes.
absolutely nothing. So if he ain't saying nothing right now, and his ministry ain't saying nothing about it, you expect him to go to a medical cannabis town hall to talk about it? Well, we need to demand that they do. But at this point,
This is this is funny till
and
you
this is
make the,
what I'm
till you make the
saying,
sense, Virgin.
it's not funny. We
Till you
laughing
make the
here
sense.
because it's like it's almost
Well,
unbelievable that these
of
things are
course it
happening and
is.
our people are sitting back and just like
Yes.
accepting this. I mean, even the Rastafari community, these are things that
And
them man
and
should
and
really come together,
and they
despite
need to
all the
stop. They
differences.
need to stop pull up the herb, you know.
Whether you're Bubba, you're 12 tribe, or you're at this house or that house or wherever house. This ain't a time for no house business. It's a time for Rasta to stand up because a lot of things too that's been happening where Rasta, even though they're trying to give Rasta certain provisions, and I mean, there's a comment I want to make, but I want to wait until IOI come on the call if he actually does. Because, anyway, get back to what I was saying. The Rasta community need to stand up and speak up and speak out. And also, the cannabis users and
Yes,
people
sir.
who support it, whether you could start a petition and then you organize a proper protest so that it is demonstrated that it's not just Rasta alone want this thing. You want to be able to have a wide cross section of the society and community that is going to be able to show that this is not just about smoking. There are also so many other industries that can be created and that we are losing opportunities to develop and become entrepreneurs and so on in this field and are infused with other things that we already have already. Because there's that option where a person may be making a specific product, whether it's a soap or a shampoo or whatever, but you could now have a cannabis infused shampoo. You could have a cannabis infused soap. You could have a cannabis infused, other cream or lotion and things like that. So you could have your regular brand, and so you're holding back the economy, and you're saying that you're not making money and CBI, and here is it, you have another can empower the people. I'm not talking about no medical cannabis where you need no license and bringing up. I'm talking about where you can just open up this industry so that more people in the society and community can be empowered and become entrepreneurs. But we have people who are in the seats who are. So why are you paying these people and not making noise for paying them then? Because you're paying them to do this work, This is part of what you say you hire them to do. And here is it, you have a minister sitting down on ecclesiastic affairs where cannabis is, and for 2 years plus, he ain't say nothing. Well, how you feel? And he get paid, and he just get paid. He get increased the other day.
Man is
So
man is a busy man, your son.
Because
Man is a busy man. Man have a big.
Hold on. When people speak like this sometimes, right? And this is part of the problem. Because some people they're afraid to speak because they feel like they're supporting a political party and so on, and so they feel like they might be offending. No, this ain't nothing to do with a political party, because for me, whoever would have been in the position as Minister of Ecclesiastic Affairs, it could have been my mother, it could have been my father.
Yes,
we would have got the same argument here right now.
Of course,
That
definitely.
you're supposed to be doing a job and you ain't doing it. And right now, me ain't hearing nothing from you. And I would have been coming to challenge you the same way I'm coming to challenge that minister right now. So it just so happened that it is that minister. It is just so happened that it is this government that is in at this point. And I with it because they are hired. Whoever government, the bank, if you go in the next week, we paying you. So the same demands I'm coming to with you.
Accountability.
That's why my mother and my father. I come in the same way as you because you put yourself in that position. You're a public figure.
No, but you see, yes, son, we are here. Here, you got to realize the reality. The reality is here. Once you're supporting a party, the masses supporting a party, and the government change and the party is in power. Once the government give you a work or you support the party, no matter how much wrong they do, hush your mouth. Do not speak in public. Otherwise, you're making them look bad. And with that, you will be attacked, and you'll be attacked, and you'll be attacked. You see me Virgin Big Lies gone? I don't want them long time, you know.
Hold on,
You see
hold
the next
on.
one gets their cut again.
This
So
is
it is. That's
why.
what people
This
fear.
is why, Banky.
That's what they fear.
Banky. This is why
Yes.
we need to do our best from these kind of platforms to educate
Yes.
and re-educate our
Well,
people
that's the
in
whole
terms
point.
of their rights and their
Because
powers. Because
it show
the
you.
reality is these people work for us. You ain't supposed to got a kind of fear there. You're not
Yes,
supposed to got
son.
a kind of fear there.
Watch here. When I hear Big Lies mention the situation with the minister and whatever, I say, all right, oh, you're gone. When I hear Mauricio went on this podcast and he's speaking and whatever and all this thing, I say, well, Mauricio Noka is a wise man. He know, but these guys don't care either. And that's the mentality. They're just doing the right thing. So they don't care. They're not going to stop talking because they know they're doing the right thing. And these ministers want them to lie for them and want them to hush. So they want to control
No, but
these grown
Banky,
men like children. It don't work like that,
hold
brethren.
on.
If
My
you say you're going to do
problem
better,
some
do better. That's it.
my
If you want to do
problem
better, do
is so
better. You
much with
can't go do the same thing that. Yes.
my problem is
Go
so much
ahead.
with the politicians. My problem
You're
is
the people
more
to
so
blame.
with our people, because
Of course.
as much as I am talking what I'm saying now, and even though I try to make the disclaimer, the politicians them know what me say, no? They know what me
Of
say,
course they know.
but the problem is the people them who is going to want to take up who are staunch supporters, so to speak, and
Yes, son.
as long as you say anything
This
about,
politician.
the minister,
This,
that's how they are going to take it. But for me,
yes.
it's as we mentioned, it's accountability. Now, I taught
That's it.
social studies. I taught social studies in Charleston Secondary School up to fifth form. My students them did social studies CXC. A part of that curriculum is government. So I had to
Yes.
teach my children them about the different types of governments and how they
Mm-hmm.
function, and also about our government system. So it is because I understand how our government should function why I speak the way I speak. So I know how they
Of
should
course.
function. I know what is happening. And this is why I want our people to realize the power that they have and stop continue to allow these people who are our employees. They are our highest paid civil servants. They are our servants. And that is why every 4.5 years, I say 4.5 because about 6 months of the campaign, that's when they come on your
Mm-hmm.
house and the dog get to know you. They didn't know them. So they come on so much that your dog stop back for the 6 months. And after the 6 months, and they get in office, when you want to see them, you run around and you get. But we change that. We need to realize that when they come on that 6 months of job, they come back for a job, that you are paying us all the money that they and all that they claim that they're going to do. When they go in the house and they pass these bills and so on, what they say they're doing on behalf of you, it's your tax money, your money that they're using to do these things. And as Banky mentioned, they do these things and they still come back on and tax you again. Because I tell
Tax
you,
pan, tax pan,
they do
tax pan, until
and tax
VAT
and
pan the
tax.
tax.
And then they
That's how-
waste it. Like and when you point out somebody wastage, then they feel like you're a problem. Let's use, since we're talking agriculture,
Mhm.
cleaning up 40 or 60 acres of land in Indian Castle to do a phase 2
Yes.
project.
Yes. With all the material is there,
Did
with all the wire is
absolutely
there.
did absolutely nothing with it. Spent, as according to the premier, up to the point when
Yes.
he spoke, the bill was
Yes.
over $400,000. So that's
Yes.
$400,000 taxpayers' money wasted.
Yes.
You can't call it
Yes.
nothing else but wasted. Well,
And you have to be clean
one
again. This
one
can get
could
back to
say
the
that
original state, how it was.
one could say that the person who did the backhoe and truck and excavator services benefited, so it's not wasted in
Yes.
that sense. But in terms of for the public benefit or the nation's benefit and the island's benefit, it's wasted.
Of
We
course.
are wasting some money again by seeking to invest in a poultry industry where seemingly the cart was put before the horse because you bought a machine
You clean the
and
same
now
land too. You mow the pond. You remember you mow the pond,
you
you know.
clean the land.
The pond is
Oh,
over
I didn't
Madden.
know that part.
Yes,
So
I
that
talk
land was
about it. The
clean.
pond is at Madden. The pond is at Madden by the windmill over there. Yeah, but you have a church on the hill there, so when you go by the Madden, there's a church right there. The pond is right there. Right there in the corner, in the deep corner. The pond is right in the corner. The more the
So
pond,
you
they
clean up
clean
that.
down
So
the
that's
land
another
next to
set
the
of money
abattoir.
wasted.
Yep.
So that's another set of money wasted again. And you
They brought
bought the
down the pond.
machine
Yep.
and now you're paying money every
Yes.
month to store that machine
Storage.
somewhere. That is wastage.
No,
That
you need a
is
WD-40.
wastage.
You need plenty WD-40 and lubricant to make sure the
So,
machine they move. That's all you
so
need.
these are
Yes,
things.
sir.
And
No, let me
when you
interject.
speak,
Let me interject. Let me
uh-huh.
interject. The problem is that the minister had meant well, right? But the minister, by the machine, whatever, get excited. But then he realized he didn't expect the cost of the bill would have been so much money. So me not understand that one day. This is like geothermal. You don't know who you should talk, so you're gonna build a building, but you know what the building gonna be, you know, do a budget, you know, go to the
You make
architect,
joke,
you know, get this
Banky.
thing draft up and all this thing, you're gonna just do the cost to build a
Banky, you
building
make
now,
joke.
you don't got no money. Huh?
Banky, you making joke.
Let me tell you something. I know there's
Banky, no, hold
there
on,
are
Banky. Wait,
no,
Banky.
I wanna
Banky, I know
finish
why
the
you go to
part, your
fast yet.
son.
I know why you go to
Yes.
fast yet. Wait, not go to fast yet. Not go to fast yet. Wait,
Yes.
hold on.
Yes. I'm
You
talking
said,
facts, eh? I'm
wait,
talking
you said they
facts.
bought, wait, you said they bought the machine. They bought the
Yeah.
machine. And then after buying the machine,
Remember they
figure
had the
out
plan,
that
eh?
it cost much.
Remember they had a plan, a design, whatever. And then when they get the cost to build a building, by that it costs much money, but I mean they had too much. I mean I plan the amount to spend that kind of money there. How much money plan you spend when you're not gonna design yet? Me not understand the one day. Eh? How much money had planned to spend? That's the whole point.
No,
And there people don't watch it. You know, your son, there is a whole slaughterhouse machine sitting there for the last 2 years since they're talking about this, say you're gonna go into this poultry industry. You know, there's a farmer don't buy a whole machine, bring a whole system to a slaughter machine to get it to invest. He don't invest by cash. And the government got the money, and luckily by cash, the machine there's a slung too. So the investor invest in a slaughtering machine, take out into poultry, and the machine there sit down, the money is there sit down. You see? The next machine the minister buys, but now he money, a taxpayer's money. But the farmer who buy his investment over $40,000 from China, a whole automated machine to slaughter chicken and everything, and processing. No, they only hear feel the squeeze. The minister know about this thing, you know. You hear he tell the man, in a minute the building costs so much money. Yeah? So from the houses mode. They never know so much money. So how you tell a man that who don't get a machine done for 2 years now that he don't spend over 40,000 US? You tell him you don't know. It building would have cost much money. And then all the man know Culturama. Me not serious? You hear it about Culturama, right? All the man know Culturama. You know, well, yes, son, we've been here for 5 years and nobody never say what we say is wrong. We've never been challenged about nothing we've been speaking of. You ever been challenged about anything? Anybody call us about you was wrong? Never, because we don't come. We come here to educate, because we're educating people. We are sometimes we make a little compassionate, or whatever, but we have a right too, because we're talking about our resources, and we want to make sure we hold these people accountable.
And agriculture is an area that we are very passionate about. You know, it means a lot to us. So
because we don't like wasting money, we don't want to waste. We don't want to waste resources of the taxpayers. That's why we are. Yes, son. I was put in charge of over $1 million project, you know, with 5 workers, handpicked. And all the workers they wanted, watch, the workers that they choose, they wanted to fire them, you know, me beg for them, eh? They give it the whole body word. They wanted to fire them. Me say, please give me them. Let me save them. Don't fire them. Let me take them. That's what they wanted to fire all of them. I said, give me them, please. Up to now, they want to know how me control them. Me say, me control nobody. We all work collectively. We all sit together. We all make the same decision, and we work as a team. Up to now, they want to know how you control them Rasta. How you can, yeah, they look down and there was the outcast, the worst in the department, and they end up being the best and produce the best. And the world see the best in, you must see the best in people. So you treat people, virgin. There are people who don't know how to treat people. You treat people how you want to be treated the same way. Respect, and you get back respect. And you make them to be a part of the process. And that is all that we do. So everybody come, how you get this done? It's everybody a part of the decision making. The building blue, we all come to a consensus, and they choose the color and become blue. If a black, everybody come to, no, everybody have a say. Everybody have a say, so everybody feel a part of the project. So everybody feel proud of the project, and they work together as a team. That's why 5 workers could have did 40 acres when each acre you need 2 workers. So which means the estate should have on. How much workers should have on? No, everything on the gene. Because people see people do things, don't understand management system, communicating with people, respecting each worker because they come from different household, and don't treat some workers fair and some unfair because they're going to see all these things. You see what I mean? And you give and take. You got to give and take. Some days ain't going to be the same. But at the end of the day, it was a successful project, successful story, and they can't change that. They can't speak now because everything is failing. Yet now you have a next young man who producing again because he don't have what they want. They don't want to pay the man. You see? Pay the man. So I'm calling out Eric. I'm calling Mr. Brantley, the whole cabinet. Because I'd been the sacrificial lamb, you know. Nobody and some others, nobody else has been a sacrificial lamb within the department and know it through the civil service. This thing about paper and all that, fine, nothing is wrong with this thing, but if you cannot produce the work, you should not be getting the ink. And if a man produce and don't have the paper, it should be about the production, my brethren. If you're not producing the work because you get a workplace, we call it a job description, what your job is entail. So how you not perform and I get raised every minute and feel important? And I get position because the position say we require a bachelor and we require a master, so you just give this to your position because they on paper. But yet them a fail. Didn't it make no sense? Those things don't make no sense. You see what I mean? I got brethren who got who job plan and something and this and that, and they call me all the time, boy, what you can give me some ideas how to create this and whatever and whatever and whatever. Well, me not an architect. You understand? But I understand designs. I understand. You see what I mean? That's the difference. I understand construction. So they call me and I give ideas. Not those who are there. They don't want to listen to people like that. It's all about just egos, my virgin. And these things gonna have to change. And I be kind and adapt to the same. The civil service should be one thing, not named, not established, nothing. You know what I'm saying? You come in, you train, and you're a civil servant. That's it. This nonsense people working for 40 years acting like they're doing people a favor now. They've been ill-treating the people. Because you're selling the passport over 40 years ago, over 30, 40 years ago. You still not give them the dividends that is owed to them. You and your friends, them getting rich and selling our passport and they're selling it. You see what I mean? And laughing after us. But we will see how all these things will play out. You understand? We will see how all these things will play out because I know a lot of people. Yes.
Before we roll on, I was just gonna get into some of the comments on the walls so far. So we have Carlisle Paris Ujima, Ras Ujima, locked in. Rutland Hill saying good evening once again. We have Burlby Jones saying the Rastaman them need to protest against all this BS. The proposed fees to get in the cannabis business. Why can't we develop our own industry locally and shut out the foreigners? I guess he's agreeing with you, Banky. Burlby Jones again saying absolutely right. Yason, actually, no law supposed to pass in Parliament unless the people wants it. Actually, the people are asking for electoral and constitutional reform. They are not doing it. Burlby Jones said, yes, boundaries hasn't changed in 40 years plus. Buba said, blessed night family. He said, why do we allow these so-called leaders to suppress and oppress without consequences? Which is, what I've been saying, because they work for us. And I guess part of the problem, and I guess that is why I'm really seeking to get our people to truly understand and look at things the way they're looking at it, because the reality is how our system is structured. when we hire these elected officials, we give them a job for 5 years. The only way we can get rid of them, and that is why it is important for us to be more united and stop allow them to divide us along these petty parties and political lines, because the only way we can get rid of them is if we're going to have a vote of no confidence. And to get a vote of no confidence, it means that you would have to have a majority support. Now, if they're divided and their supporters are the majority, well, then you think you're going to get a vote of no confidence so easy, unless the people are really educated to that point where they realize, hey, this ain't really about no parties and politics. It's about these people are hired to work for us, and we need to demand that they are accountable to us, that they come and consult with us before they do anything, and when they go out to do anything on our behalf, that they come back and report to us and let us know what they did, what was said in the meetings, what was proposed, before they sign on to anything. Because a lot of the times they sign on to agreements that we don't know anything about, and it's only when something happens and we say, well, we could do this or we should do this, and then you hear, well, we can't because we would have signed on to this kind of agreement, which in some cases we don't know anything about. So these are things that I want our people to begin, if they are paying attention to, really start to realize that it is not the elected officials who are your bosses. You are their bosses. Your taxes is what's paying them. When they travel and go wherever they're going, especially when they say they're going on the nation's business, it's your money paying for their trip. It's your money paying for their per diem. It's your money paying for the phone bill and whatever internet and whatever else they're going to use while they're roaming and all that. It is your taxes. So you have a right to demand that they come back and talk to you and tell you what they went to do. You have a right to demand that they come and consult with you before they even go into the house and pass any bill. It is your right. You all are allowing them to deny you that right, especially in Nevis, when these people who are hired telling you when you try to challenge them, ignore the noise. Total disrespect to your bosses.
You see,
how do you tell your bosses that? And people sit back and take that. And this is what I'm saying. We have gotten to that point where they have been, the elected officials have been so good at mastering reverse psychology that they have us thinking that they're the bosses when in reality we are the bosses.
you see, and it shows. I mean, you have a question there with Arwin Otto was asking what is the role of the opposition, but we got to do better as a people. I remember when this situation happened, and I told, and they were in a conversation with Jeffers and Lewis and next virgin at Indian Castle, and I said, "Watchie, if Timothy Ashan ain't get the position as opposition leader, and you ain't take it, well, he don't want it. Well, you Mark gonna be opposition leader. Well, he ain't gonna be opposition leader. You can't be the premier and opposition. It ain't gonna work, and you're gonna show, and everything I tell them is showing. You see, because these guys are so petty and foolish, is that they don't want to give Sean because they're looking for their own self. These are willful acts. They're not thinking about the people of the Federation of Nevis. They're thinking about themselves. So how can you want to be around the country and you still want also you're cussing them same people there, but no, you want them nice and tight now. You are married now, so we're nice. We don't forgive each other, but you don't care about. You see, Sean and Timothy was supposed, but these guys was a follow, so they're just willful and don't care about the Nevis. And because I tell them it's gonna happen, I tell them so. You see, I tell them it's gonna happen.
Banky,
Stupidness.
If I could do something, and get away with it, because the people ain't gonna say nothing and the people ain't gonna do nothing, why wouldn't I do it?
Okay, that's good.
That is the scenario that we are facing. That is the scenario that we are facing in the Federation, especially in Nevis.
But look how it. So, okay. But look how it is now.
You remember? Okay, let's look at this here. You remember when NRP was in power, and
yes.
Patrice then were running for the federal seat. You remember the arguments from CCM? Oh, they're gonna get double salary and they shouldn't be getting to pay and all of this. Well, they got in. What they do? And
The man said they want the money.
But Patrice then wasn't working at the time too, and whoever else wasn't working at the time too.
No, wasn't working. They wasn't working.
So I'm just showing you how our people are, and we sit back and just allow things. So if they know that they could do these things, and the people just gone, maybe just that's why me come to say ignore the noise, because that's all they're gonna do, make a little noise in the corner. And then the other thing with that is there's the other part to it where they know we have a sharp memory, and that is why they would come and tell you something today, knowing that they can tell you, well, okay, we're gonna do this in this May now. Tell you, well, we're gonna do this thing in August, because they know when August come, you ain't gonna remember that they did say that they're gonna do something in August.
Indian Castle first quarter, second phase.
First quarter, yeah.
First quarter.
The first quarter they're
almost done. Second quarter we have soon done. Yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
And culture must start. So you know that
nobody remember that. Nobody remember that.
Well,
only when you come up and say that. Yeah, only when you come and say that. Yes. No, that's what I mean. When somebody come and say it. But it was people. But then you remember that he been said that. Let me say that. And this is the game. This is part of the game that's been played and the populace over the years. And then they're not still, even though you're saying this, they're gonna say, man, nobody with him, man. Then they just want to fight the government. They might fight we.
They can't say that because wherever they drive, they say my work is tangible and they can be seen, they can touch it. So it's not about talking. You see what I mean? The evidence is there. So if anybody speak like that and in denial, and wherever they go on Nevis, they see my work wherever they see it. Well, why would you speak like that? You go in people's house, you go by MEMS. You see how Shiverton and all the Shiverton have above me, where you have a piece of land there we used to set up beautifully. All them banana trees, he dig them out. It got there. Lush. You see what I mean? So the evidence is there when you drive on Nevis. Everywhere. It's not about talking. I don't have time to waste. So I ain't got time for that. If you want just like it talk, you not talk to me. Come in and respond. Show me your evidence. Let your work speak for itself. Hold me accountable. Because I hold myself accountable and I had a high standard too. Come at Caseby, see what's it since last year, August up until now, how that farmer perform. I have perform and harvest more stuff than farmers are farming for the last 3 years, or maybe 5 years. But you understand? The evidence is there. The public see it. So is that about how long your son IRI coming in right now? So let me call him back. Can you see me? Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm
but the
give
thing
me a minute
is,
there, call him back and
the thing is,
what you saying?
I was gonna say with the phone, no, he's not gonna really be able to hear me.
Yeah, hear you. I'm gonna make sure and take off the headphone. So you can hear you. So you come to the laptop. So you walk. Yeah, man, greetings.
Yeah. What we doing? You sending me a link or?
Oh, you want the link? You done home? Well, you could use the same. Did I send the link before? Well, you can.
Okay, Banky, pause your mic and have the conversation, and then I'll talk in the meantime. So just pause the mic here, and the app, so that you could have the conversation with IRI, and then we continue. So people, in the meantime, I guess I'll just go to some of the comments. Carlisle Paris saying, I want a box of poly mango and some grafted mangoes to Banky. So that's Carlisle Paris. How was work on the farm this strong? What's popping there, Ras? Well, he did say earlier on that he have some watermelons coming in. The bananas, them are shooting out. A lot of mangoes, ready to be tested. So all that's going on that farm. On my side, I have some sweet corn coming. I have some okras coming. I have some squash coming and some bell peppers coming. Those are what I have planted at this point. Looking to plant a good bit more okra. Okra actually do pretty well on these sides of the globe. It's something that you can't have enough of when it comes to okras in these parts of California. It's really interesting as we look at farming and food security and food sovereignty and what's going on in the world. And there's not a better time to be involved in the agricultural industry than at this time, because food is going to be very, very critical. Food, more, we have the tariff issues. We have, the concept of any ship made in China docked into a U.S. port. These additional charges. These are serious things that we have to consider when we are highly dependent on imports. So that shift is going to be very, very critical. That shift in terms of us growing a lot more of our own food, supporting our local farmers, is going to be really, really, really critical. And if we don't, we are going to find that we're going to have some shortages of food in some cases, and we are going to have some significant increases they will produce in terms of purchasing it. Because if things continue the way it goes, that's what's going to happen. And so to help yourself, one of the best things you can do would be to grow your own food. Now, we do have our special guests in-house already, so I'm going to, ease my thought there for a while and give Ras Ira an opportunity to introduce himself and, say good evening to the folks on the platform. It's nice to have you on the platform, Ras Ira. Greetings.
Yeah, man, blessed love. Trying to stabilize the device, I know you say I'm in the house, but I ain't really in the house. I in a vehicle. But yeah, man, give thanks and praise to the Most High Emperor Haile Selassie, the first, and Empress Menenai, our great ancestors, great gods and goddesses of this ancient black eternal race. Yeah, man, it's always good to give thanks. Thanks to the item for having this platform. Very important that I can tell our story, so it's good that the item could give I the opportunity to share whatever it is that I have to share. I'm involved in quite a number of things, my professional life
Well,
and
yes.
my other life. So
Yes, and as you speak of that, I, would have recognized recently because I did get a chance, so I didn't get to see the whole of it, but I happened to bump into the interview with my brethren there on the Lion Voice, and realized that you were interviewed as the new chair of the Caribbean Rastafari organization. And I want to congratulate you on that post. I think it speaks a lot for St. Kitts and Nevis and Rastafari on a whole. And I know it's not a easy position to deal with, because you're going to be, on the helm of not just Rastafari and St. Kitts and Nevis, but you're representing Rastafari throughout the entire Caribbean. So I want to congratulate you on that move, and I guess if you want to share a little bit on that, we can begin with that.
yeah, man, give thanks. It's all from the heart. It's all seen as the duty and the responsibility. It's what I and I have dedicated I and I life as Rastafari for. But it is always good to be appreciative loved and give thanks to the eye for the encouraging words. It is indeed a tough responsibility. Um, one that I thought someday I would like to be in that position. Not sure if I thought it would have been this quick, but such is life. The elders would have placed and youths would have placed some confidence in I and I just have to give thanks for that. Um, and well supported by the ORU, the local St. Stephen's organization. So that is really important because having your home back in is of vital importance. But yeah, it's a crucial time for I and I around the region. This whole Pan African movement, things are happening. Africa is again rising. You see what's going on with the Bridget Toure, it's just amazing,
Right.
brother. So um, the CRO has really set a lot of links within the whole African continent. We make regular trips. We have memorandum of understanding with quite a number of things, including trade. And so there's a lot of work to be done. Because, Rastafari, not we answer the call of Rastafari and he himself, the God of humanity. So I have to be I and I brother, sister keeper. And when our people are asleep, it's the responsibility of Rastafari to awake them and lead them in that path for African liberation. So we just have to live the role and keep real. But give thanks for the support all the while, and at times I will be using this same platform to share some words when it comes to the CRO. Give thanks.
Wonderful, and we definitely would welcome that. In terms of the ORU, as you mentioned, the local chapter now. Who is the chair or the head of that? Is that organization right now? Sorry.
Um, I am I am the chair of the OIO. I have been reinstated at the last convention. Um, I think this will be the last reinstating though. I have to move. I have to move. There are a few persons that showed some interest. Um, so still some good hope that by our next convention, or maybe even sooner, but definitely by the next convention, we could see an official change in chair. I've been the chair for a while. Um, hopefully, it's an indication that I've been doing a good job. But there's lots of work to be done, and there are a lot of races out there and who are capable within the ORU. So it gives ones and ones the chance to step into that light and give me the chance to focus more on the regional aspects of Rastafari. So I'm the chair. Empress Naki Shelley is the secretary. We have brother I Trust from St. Kitts in Sunny Point. He is the co-chair, and I realized I didn't say assistant chair. I said co-chair. So it's really a position of shared responsibility, and he's definitely one of the ones that been looking at for that position. Um, and of course we have quite a full slate of the executive. We also have what we call subcommittees, trade, cannabis, human rights. Those committees are also filled. So we have quite a big slate in terms of the executive council, which is the governing body. You know, the executive plus a representative from each of the member houses. So that's basically how it's structured. So it really gives every member, every house, and I should be able to say every Rastafari within Sinking the opportunity to be part of the decision making as to how we go forward. Um, and speaking of that, I think we missed an opportunity, this whole cannabis industry. But you know, we have gained, we have much more to gain. All is not lost, as people would say, but it's going to take some serious networking and you know that unity of which Rastafari speaks.
Yes, I. Well, just for a little clarity for those who might not necessarily be familiar with the acronyms that we use, the CRO represents the Caribbean Rastafari Organization, and ORU is Organization of Rastafari Unity, and CRO is the Caribbean Rastafari Organization, which is a regional body, and the ORU is the local St. Kitts and Nevis chapter, the Organization of Rastafari Unity, which is also connected to the CRO, because I know in the past, as a member of ORU myself, that we always had a relationship with CRO. And I remember, as a matter of fact, that is how I got to meet the former chair, Ras Bongo Wisely, who I got an opportunity to meet in person some time back. Now, that's a little tidbit on what's happening with that industry. Now, one of the major issues that we want to discuss this evening is the meeting that they would have had last night in relation to the Medical Cannabis Authority and cannabis movement and St. Kitts and Nevis on a whole. I recognize through the pictures that you were present at the meeting, and so it would be nice for us to be able to get some feedback on, like what took place and some of the issues that were discussed and so on. Now, one of the things I want to ask, if you probably have any idea of this or could respond to this, is why such a meeting that I think is of such importance and significance to the nation was not streamed or even televised, or SKNIS or ZIZ or whatever, and or streamed online, so that it could have reached as many as possible. I don't know if you have the answer to that, but while you give the explanation as to what happened last night, I was just wondering if there is any rational or reason, because I think you're on the board as well too, so you might be able to share as to why, if there was a decision not to do that, what was the rationale?
Um, I'm not in a position to answer that. Unfortunately, I was not part of the organizing committee when it comes to logistics and that kind of. But I do agree with you with a meeting, gathering of that importance. It would have been nice to have it live. There gonna be more meetings. There definitely gonna be more, and it gives ones and ones the opportunity to check out and come forward and contribute to the other meetings. The next one is next week Thursday. I don't have dates, so I can't refer to a calendar right. But next week Thursday, that would be in Old Road, I think, in St. Kitts.
Mm-hmm.
A date has not been set for meeting or meetings in Nevis. But of course, that is something that I would not let slip by. And the authority itself would have recognized the importance of coming over to Nevis. The Nevis Island administration, has to play a part. We would like them to play a part, and so I think that would be the next step for them to indicate when and so on. But regardless, there would be meetings in Nevis, because the Nevis populace need to know what is going on.
Yeah,
The meeting was well attended.
yeah, don't lose that point. Don't lose that point. In terms of explaining what the meeting, I was just gonna say that
True.
you are going to be under a lot of fire and a lot of pressure because you happen to be the only one from Nevis on the board. And right now, um, seemingly nothing is happening in Nevis. But I'll let you make that point because there's some other questions I want to ask you, but I'll let you go through in terms of the meeting last night and the engagement and some of the things that were discussed.
Okay. Alright. As you rightfully say, I'm a member of the board, but I'm speaking more from a personal, Rastafari standpoint. But I am mindful as well that I wear many hats. So I do have the opportunity at times to shed a different picture, um, and the whole matter. But yeah, last night the meeting was very was well attended. Um, I was hoping to see a packed room, you know, especially after all these videos and all these things that is circulating and so on, and all the hard work that I get and things. I was expecting to see a lot more people coming forward, um, to gather it. But basically, what it was an explanation as to the medical cannabis industry, how it intends to flesh out, an explanation of the license, the application fees, things that are necessary in terms of different forms and so on that you have to pull out and things you have to present. Um, also, it also was an opportunity to hear from the audience their concerns, things that they were not happy with, and it was clear from the beginning that that is one of the main reasons for the town hall meeting, giving ones and ones the information as to where we at now, but also welcoming the comments, um, the constructive criticisms, because the the act, as we all know, has in a lot of flaws. Some came to a light last night, um, and sometimes it might just be a terminology that makes the whole difference, and some we know of before. There's some that we have contention with here and there. But what was basically explained last night was, you see, the cannabis industry basically is organized and managed in three different ways. You have one way that is handled by the chief medical officer, and she has had that position for years since we have this constitution. The chief medical officer always had the authority to sign and allow persons to import cannabis and cannabis products for medicinal reasons. The CMO, the chief medical officer, always had that authority from constitution time. The second management structure of cannabis is um, the sacramental part of it, which is handled by the Ministry of Ecclesiastic Affairs. This deals with freedom of conscience, the Rastafari recognition rights, the ability of the Rastafari to plant cannabis, to have cannabis at the place, um, these kind of things. And then there's the medicinal part, the medicinal cannabis industry, which is this whole thing, which is basically managed by the cannabis authority. Now, I sit on the board, and the board would have put together an authority, basically administrative staff, inspectors, you know, um, public relations officers, and this kind of integral part of a regular business setup, office setup. And the authority, the cannabis authority, has the responsibility to manage the industry. What the board does basically is develop the authority, develop the industry based on the cannabis laws. We do so by, gaining information from ones and ones, in our discussions, and making recommendations to the cabinet, to the minister, to the cabinet. That's where the final decisions are made at cabinet level. Now, this basically what explained last night. Went through the different type of license. I don't know if I know them all offhand, but the cultivator's license basically gives you the authority to grow cannabis, to grow it, harvest it, cure it, and package it. The cultivator's license doesn't give you the authority to juggle a dime bag or a 50 bag, an ounce here and there. You can sell a 5 pound, a 10 pound, you could sell a 50 pound to a producer, a manufacturer, somebody who's going to make oil, or somebody who's going to make tablets, these kind of things. Or if you have a license to do that, then you grow your herb, but then you must need a license to move to the other step. So it's a variety of licenses, a variety of prices. I don't know the prices offhand, but what I can tell you, last night the concern, yes, was one of the big concerns. The prices was too high. The foreign prices for foreigners, non-nationals, non-citizens, is pretty high, and I like them that way. That gives a little bit more protection to the local people. But listening to the audience, they say them prices still not strange, and I agree because you got big corporation out there. $500,000 is nothing to invest in an industry of that nature. But as I said, the prices for locals basically slash like half. There is also an opportunity for what we would call, well, let me say, the opportunity for Rastafari to get free license and exemption and license and waiver and taxes and so on. That opportunity is there, spelled out in the Freedom of Conscience Act. It also gives the opportunity, as I said, for locals to pay half, and it also gives the opportunity for what we would call traditional farmers. Traditional farmers would have the opportunity. I think I see something there for like $100. Now, the cultivation license is basically set in tiers. When I say tiers, I speak of quarter acre portion. So let's say you're growing a quarter acre cannabis. You basically would pay. See, I can't remember the price offhand. I'm gonna check and see if I could pull up the information. But basically, quarter acre, half acre, and then the price go up. You can pay something like $1,000 for a cultivator's license. The license will run for 3 years. There are clauses there that for the first 6 months, people would be exempted from certain fees, application fees, and so on. So it gives the whole explanation. I'm sorry I don't have the documents, so I could have gone into details and talk figures, but there were some misconceptions, in terms of the figures. There was a quote I could remember of $200,000. But this is if you cultivating something, more than 5 acres. Now, regardless of what, locals are still saying that the price is too high. And I do agree. I am a part of the board, and you know, I don't have to try and exclude myself from certain decisions. But I think as Rastafari, the way I stand on certain things is really no secret. You know, from day one, Rastafari is saying free the herb. We don't want no decriminalization, no legalization, not because we knew that legalization comes with rules and regulations and a whole tax collecting regulation and so on. That's what it's all about. It's a money making thing. And I have a different level of interest and that is not just about economics alone. But one of the other things that came from the audience was, ways in which the authority could protect the local man, because not that it can't be done. I think it can be done. You can have restrict some of the suggestions were have some restrictions in terms of give the local man maybe the first couple of years, let them push off in the industry first, you know, give out the incentives, do the necessary training, um, build the capacity of your local people so they could run their own ganja business. And also, when foreign business come in, they could be employed in top positions as well as cultivators, cleaners, but also as chemists and managers, shareholders, you know. And so it give the opportunity for I to to be able to get an advantage. We have to speak about having a percentage. Any foreign anybody who wants to import cannabis must must buy a certain percentage from the local farmers first. Instead of allowing a man to import 100% of his stuff, once he can source them locally, the local man should get first preference. Um, it is hard because we have something like citizenship or investment. It's hard sometimes to keep out people with money. Not that you want to keep them out, but when it comes to securing a special place for your local, it becomes hard because once you become a citizen, you're a citizen. And you could really be, I think you are entitled to all of the benefits and so on as a citizen. There are some restrictions that can be placed, like voting and so, but a lot of it could be challenged. And so it was a tough decision, you know. But a traditional farmer was one of the ways in which places like St. Vincent, um, they were able to approach. Well, them guys, they came together and they were able to tell the government, listen, we are planting cannabis, ganja, marijuana for 50, 60 years. We've been sending this thing to every island in the Caribbean. My grandfather left here on a boat and never returned. We have suffered. We have been in this business for years. We need our share of the industry. And that is what we failed to do in St. Kitts. The traditional farmer outside of Rastafari, and even some Rastafari didn't come forward. They say me sell out and they try to get police know who and who are plant herb. But the vision was really for I and I to be able to stand up and say, listen, we have a Ganja Growers Association. So now that group of people would have fit under the traditional farmers category, which would have gotten special benefits outside of Rastafari. Um, it now is going to be a little bit more technical to decide who has been planting cannabis for some years. You know what I mean? And it makes it a little bit more difficult now to get a section like that. But that is really one of the things where I think where the local man will get a little bit more ease. A lot of other suggestions came out. in terms of letting I and I get not just Rastafari and traditional farmers, but others get more and more incentives and financial assistance, technical assistance. The issue of lands, if lands are being designated, they were able to say in sync it, yes, lands could be designated. Because one of the things that is crucial, Brethren, is that to get a license, you must have the okay to use the land that you occupy. If you don't own it, if you own it, you have your papers. If you don't own it, permission from who own it, you lease from government or whatever it takes. And I hope the government would do like St. Vincent. We get all those, clean up all the land for the people and tell them, listen, this is your area, we're giving you, this is your lease for how much ever years. This is what you can use as, set yourself, be able to get your portion. And so, that the land issue came up. Testing was also a big issue. Our local lab here in St. Kitts Nevis is, it can test to certain limits. But there are still standards which we consider basic standards that has to be tested for, that they would need additional equipment, which I think they're in the process of getting. We're also going to have different people interested in setting up businesses, testing facility businesses. And once they're accredited and so on, you might even have a choice as to where you carry your product to be tested. Speak of the different licenses, the lounge, for example. You have the lounge, you have the dispensary. The lounge is where you can go and use cannabis. The dispensary is where you go and purchase cannabis. You purchase it basically if you go to a doctor, you and the doctor talk, and doctor do what he has to do. You get a prescription to go and get some cannabis. You can go to go to a dispensary. Just like how them man push the prescription drugs, You go to a dispensary and you get your cannabis. One of the things that Rastafari brought to the fore again is that we are our local practitioners. Our local practitioners do not have the authority, won't have the authority, or they are not given the authority to prescribe cannabis. That is crazy. That is wrong. That is. You have taken the knowledge of these herbal doctors. You've taken their knowledge. You've taken their substance. You're using it for basically the same reason that they have been using it. But yet you're telling them, the herbal man, that he is not qualified to prescribe. So you see the level of madness a regulated regime is causing. And that is something that we have to continue to fight for. Because I am sure these medical doctors have to go and take little courses to know how to deal with cannabis. So then give our local herbal practitioners and naturopaths, give them the opportunity as well to take the courses. They must be able to dispense. When it comes to Rastafari, nobody could tell us what we take and how we take, and can't tell we bush doctor what to give I and I. That's once I and I rights been recognized, once Parliament cabinet has recognized I and I in that light as a churchical, faith-based, spiritual, religious order, then those rights are given to I and I, are recognized.
Okay,
So
so
just like how,
as
uh-huh.
as you're about to make that point, right? Um, I am curious as to why then is the focus on medical cannabis, the medical side, when, as you pointed out, that the recreational and personal, well, recreational slash personal and religious and spiritual is under a whole other ministry altogether.